Hi, everybody. My name is Scott. I'm here with Matt. And Matt is one of the marketing consultants here at Marketing 360. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to, for yourself, to prepare yourself for an initial phone call, an initial conversation with somebody like Matt, and some tips on how you can get the most out of that phone call so you can understand whether or not the marketing consultant and the agency you're talking to is going to be a fit for you and whether it's going to be worth going forward with them. So, Matt, let's just kind of start right in here. And what are some of the big questions? We'll just kind of take them one at a time that you ask and the things that you really need to know from a client initially.
Really what we want to start with is we really want to have an understanding of the overall business and ultimately what our clients are trying to achieve. If we can start to narrow down, and really start to dive towards what the current situation is and what we want it to be, we can really work with the clients to ultimately come work together on a strategy going forward. But it's important to have some key fundamentals down, what the business is, who the primary and the target audience is for each client, and what they're doing right now to reach that audience and how that's working. Oftentimes there's things that the clients are doing really well and there's things that we can work on, and we want to be able to know both so we can move forward together.
Okay, so obviously you need to be prepared to discuss some of the obvious things about the makeup of your business, what you do, where you're located, what your kind of marketing space is, how long you've been in business.
Right.
Those basic things are coming along. Then let's start taking some of these other things kind of one by one. So a lot of the times you're going to want to be able to get a feel for what their experience with kind of online marketing, website marketing is.
Right.
What are some of the things you look for there?
As far as experience?
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you move forward when you've got somebody who you realize has really almost no background in this versus somebody who may have already worked with an agency before?
Sure. I think the first part is really helping them understand really what the three key. I think the best place we start is identifying the three key variables by which we're measuring all of our work, and that's the visibility, clickability, and convertibility, and how that relates to really not just our approach to things, but really that's the approach any digital marketing effort should be measured against, and really breaking those down for a client and walking through how they currently are measured against those three variables.
Okay. So you're going to you want to be able to get a big picture in this initial consultation. You're not really attempting necessarily to explain in detail what SEO is,
right,
or what pay-per-click advertising is. You might get into that, but it's not this initial phone call. You don't have to drill into all of that. You kind of want to get the picture,
right,
of what they're going to be able to do. Okay?
Right. Yeah, any digital, building a business, successful business doesn't happen overnight. And the clients that we're working with have poured a lot of time and a lot of blood and sweat equity into, building their business to where it is thus far. We're looking to help them expand upon that. And that certainly, as you alluded to, is not a conversation, a strategy moving forward is not going to happen overnight or in one phone call. So what we're really looking to do is build the foundation of this relationship that we hope will turn into a long-standing relationship down the road to work with this partner.
Okay, that's a big part of this initially for sure. Do you probably look at an existing website? Do you kind of do analysis of an existing website if they have one? Absolutely.
The website for any digital marketing campaign is really the keystone of the entire strategy. If we talk with clients all the time, myself in particular, that if we're going to spend a lot of time and effort trying to drive more and more relevant visitors to a site, we want to make sure those efforts are getting them to a site that is most representative of our client's brand and really captures that audience the first time we get them there.
For sure. Yeah, that's a big tool for this. What about the competition that somebody's facing up? What should a person who's coming into this call expect to be able to tell you about the competition they're going up against?
Number one, they should know who their competition is in the marketplace. Oftentimes we talk to clients that just really aren't aware. They get in, which is understandable. They get so focused on the day-to-day operations of running a business. It's tough to pick your head up sometimes and look around to see what's going on. But if you can understand what the competition or who the competition is and what they're doing, that's really, it really is the competition in the market that's setting the price.
Yeah, that's for sure. So we'll get into a little bit about budget and so forth later, but it is always going to be a competitive environment.
Right.
So as you're coming into this and you're thinking about starting up a marketing plan or refining a marketing plan, you really do need to take a look at who you're going up against. And I think people need to consider, not just kind of the basics, but what is your competition even doing better than you? What do they excel at? And where do you need to try to catch up with them?
Right.
And it's the same part of that. What do you think you can do better? How can you be the best? Which kind of drives into why customers in your area are going to be choosing you in the first place.
Well, I think you nailed it. Customers always have a choice. Whether somebody's going online to search for a product or a service, even if we can make sure that you are visible, that customer still has an option, and we need to help our clients identify really what differentiates them in the marketplace, because that's where we're going to start. There has to be a reason why a client is going to choose your product or service over the other options that they have, and what we want to do is help you highlight that and really make that be a standout point for you.
Sure. That's one of the things that you dial in, and that affects a lot of the content that you end up creating.
Correct.
Of course, what is your value proposition? A big part of a value proposition is really to inform people why they should choose you instead of somebody else.
Right.
If you can't communicate that clearly, then people just aren't going to know, and that's going to be a problem. Let's talk a little bit about the target audience, kind of the ideal client. How much does a person coming into this phone call need to have a kind of vision of who they feel like they're trying to reach and they're trying to sell to?
Well, you should definitely have at least a fundamental understanding of who is going to be interested in your service or product, who that audience is going to be. And then through that conversation, we can ultimately, the better we can understand who that audience is. And oftentimes that's why niche products or services do so well with us, because it's a very targeted audience, which is actually oftentimes easier to approach once you identify where they're at. But through the process, we can start to narrow that down and really start to winnow down who to target to, and then ultimately we let the data dictate where we go next.
Okay, good. So the idea of having a niche, something that you can kind of specialize on, it tends to be pretty big with digital marketing.
Right.
I know when I've talked to people in the past, the one answer I never want to hear, if I say, well, who's your audience? Who are you trying to sell to? And the person says to me, everybody. Anybody who's interested in who will pay me.
Right.
That's the worst answer you can possibly give to this. That's businesses that try to sell to everybody online basically usually end up selling to nobody because they don't have a specific enough message to really capture people's attention.
Right.
So that's a very important thing to be thinking about when you're coming into this.
Right. And the better you know who you're trying to sell to or provide a service to, the better your marketing budget is actually spent and utilized. There's a tremendous amount of wasteful spending done by a lot of small business owners who, quite simply can't afford to be wasteful with their spending, but unknowingly, by trying to reach everybody, they're really getting very little traction with their marketing budget. What we do through processing each ad and through our strategies and running it through our software and the combination of our services, we really help small business owners identify where their dollar is best spent, but consequently, we're also helping them identify areas that there's wasteful spending going on, and we can literally help them visualize that and see the data that says, if we stop spending this money over here and spend it over here, we're going to get a much larger return for our marketing budget. And at the end of the day, that's really what drives and grows businesses, is quite simply doing more of what's working and less of what's not.
Right. That's a simple way of putting it, but a really important part of a strategy overall, for sure. Let's take a little bit in terms of the questions that the prospective client might ask you. So let me kind of play that role a little bit. Say I'm a prospective client here for Marketing 360. These are a few questions that you might consider asking. So, and just to kind of answer these in a general way of how you would approach this. So, communication. I want to know how Marketing 360 is going to communicate with me and let me know what's going on, who I'm going to be dealing with.
Very openly and transparently and frequently. One of the big benefits of digital marketing is that everything is trackable and that you can make decisions on it literally daily. But that being said, there also has to be that level of communication. And it takes, for us to be successful in helping you grow a business, there has to be that consistent communication. And that's where the service part of our program comes in with the marketing exec, is that they are consistently communicating what we're seeing from the data that's being run through the software. This is working, this is not, but communicate at minimum once a week with our clients to let them know what's going on and keeping them in the loop, because on the side of it from us, all the work that we're doing, we also want to be able to communicate all of the work that we're doing, and we want the client to be able to see where their marketing budget is going, how it's being spent, and most importantly, what they're getting in return.
Okay, so a couple of things there. You mentioned a marketing executive. That means I got one person.
Correct.
I got a point of contact that's kind of my guy.
Correct.
That's not the case with every agency. You might deal with different agencies where you're going to be kind of bounced around to different departments. We focus on we want to make sure you have one person that you know.
Right.
And they're on the phone all the time here. Mm-hmm. If I want to call in, I can call them.
Right.
Directly, at least during business hours, and
right.
There's going to be somebody there to help me. We believe personally very strongly in verbal communication with our clients. So I think we really excel at that. Other agencies, it may just be more emailing. And it's something to look out for when you're looking into marketing agencies, because communication breakdowns are one of the things that kind of ruin the efforts. You just don't know what's going on, and then everything becomes suspicious.
Right.
So we pride ourselves greatly on that here at Marketing 360 for sure. Another thing you kind of mentioned, so the reports, I know in the past, I had some experience with this myself, where I'm getting kind of random reports from people, like PDFs through email of these long reports, sporadically coming to me. A difficult time trying to figure out what they're actually telling me. How does Marketing 360 tell me what's going on in terms of all this data you're talking about?
Yeah, it's there's a learning curve for certain. There's a lot of aspects to digital marketing, but the benefit of having a single point of contact that is not only breaking this data down for you, and they're an expert in looking at this, because this is literally what they're pouring over every day.
And what about the tool itself, though? Because we have a software tool that helps kind of go into. I know I'm talking to my marketing executive.
Right.
But what are we talking about? What am I looking at on my computer?
The software, I guess in short, what the software is essentially doing is highlighting different areas for the marketing exec and for the client as well, because the client has full access to the software as well. Mm-hmm. So there's no hidden work. Everything that we're doing is being documented, and the client has 24/7 access to log in from their phone or their laptop to literally see the real-time results of each individual ad that we're running, whether that is on Google Shopping, on Yahoo, Bing, Facebook, YouTube, wherever we're doing work, we're tracking the real-time results and measuring that for performance.
So all of that is in one place.
Correct.
The Google stuff, the social media.
Correct.
Bing, if I'm doing that, all these other areas, I can look at
platform,
it in
one login.
That's a huge advantage.
Right.
And I can look at it whenever. I'm not waiting for a report to come. I don't know when. I can just log in and look at it.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great thing too, is we don't ask anyone to take our word for it. We sit down on a weekly basis with the marketing exec, and as a client, you get to sit down on a weekly basis with your marketing exec and go over what's working, what's not, and the strategy going forward.
Okay, so the key performance indicators, the metrics, are all there in terms of the traffic sources, their engagement with your content, and ultimately, of course, whether or not they're converting, whether or not you're reaching the critical goal. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff is really easy to view and understand on Marketing 360. And if you've worked in other platforms or even a lot of the Google stuff, I mean, Google Analytics is great, but it's a big tool. And
Right.
for a novice business owner who doesn't have much time, it's going to be pretty hard to go through and figure out what all that really means.
Right.
Marketing 360 boils that down into something understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing we're extremely proud of. And when you're dealing with agencies, you want to know, how are they going to inform you?
Right.
That it comes back to transparency, it comes back to understanding, and it comes back to being able to discuss the strategy
Right.
with your marketing executives so you really know what's going on. Important stuff. Let's just kind of go ahead and go to this last part here. And there's one question that often comes up really early.
Right.
And it's going to be, what does this cost?
Right.
What is the marketing cost? How much do you guys charge?
Right.
How do we address that question?
It's a big question, right? But it's one that needs to be covered right away because that's
Well, I've got $400 a month. That's what I
Right.
want to spend.
Right.
Can you do it for me?
the first thing I would ask is, what are your expectations with $400, right?
You tell me.
Right? Going into there needs to be a transition in the way you think about marketing. Marketing, at the end of the day, is a tool. It's a tool to help you grow your business. And if you're looking at it, if you look at it as a tool, then it becomes, okay, which tool is going to be the best fit? And to understand that, you really have to understand, what is the job that I'm trying to get done? What is the objective here? We were joking before we started here about the analogy of going into Home Depot, right? Generally speaking, people don't go into Home Depot and walk up to the first person that greets them and say, what's this going to cost me? The Home Depot rep would look at you and go, what are you here? What are you looking for?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
What is the project I'm trying to complete? What's the time frame I'm looking to complete it in? What's going to be the best tool for that? If I go in there and tell them I'm looking for a hammer, there's still a number of options available, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking just to buy the cheapest hammer, which might be a small little tack hammer, but the project I'm trying to complete is I'm trying to knock down walls, that representative at Home Depot would be crazy to sell you that tack hammer knowing what you're trying to get done.
Right.
But to understand where to direct you, or what aisle or to what tool, that representative at Home Depot really needs to understand what are we trying to get done? What are we trying to build, most importantly? If, as a marketing consultant, what we're really trying to understand is, what is it that we're trying to build, and how are you going to determine success?
Okay, good. So there's a couple things that I think are important to consider with this. One that we talk a lot about is that the fact of the matter is that what is marketing going to cost is the wrong question.
Right.
Because marketing is not an expense.
Correct.
It's an investment where you put in to this as a resource, and you're expecting to be able to get something back out of it for your business, and ultimately in terms of revenue. So the real question is, given your actual business, the market space that you're in, the competition that you're going up against, what you're trying to achieve,
Right.
Your budget is what it is. Matt's job initially is to try to give you a good starting point and to set realistic expectations.
Right.
And then to modify it as you go to make sure those expectations can be met.
Right.
But if you think, buying a truck is an expense, it's a cost. Marketing is really better thought of as an investment. How much can you invest, and how much do you need to invest in order to have this grow your business in the way that it must?
Right.
In the age of cell phones and digital technology and all of the ever-changing ways that we communicate with ourselves and have to try to reach people.
Right.
Thanks, Matt. This
Thank
is
you.
very enlightening for me, really, too, and I hope that it helped you guys out there, too. You can talk to Matt or some of our other marketing consultants. You can get a demo of the Marketing 360 platform. It's also a CRM, so you can look at how it works for customer relationship management. You can get a tour of some of the website templates that we do that are conversion-based templates. You can get a mock-up for free, so you can see what your business content and branding would look like on one of these. When we find a business that we know we can help, we really want to work with you. And so give us a call. It's worth your time to talk to our guys here and check out this stuff. Thanks so much. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.